So what is your name and today's date?
Amrit Pal Singh, June 1st, 2014.
And how old were you in 1984?
I was 5.
Where were you in June of 1984?
I was in Canada. My parents were actually in India, but I was quite young. I knew they went to visit.
Okay, so they were just visiting at the time?
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, you were 5 years old, but so you didn't hear you probably didn't understand the violence until quite a few years after. But did you hear or see any of the violence or hear about it?
I did. I overheard my grandparents talking. They were taking care of us, and then when my parents got back, they expressed they just missed it. They'd been there, I think, a day or two before the attack from Undersap, so they were quite fortunate to be gone by then. But they had actually went over at that time from I guess Jalandhar. They had traveled to Amritsar. They just missed it by a day or so.
Well, what was your reaction as like a 5-year-old?
As a 5-year-old, we just basically we were in the background. We just kind of absorbed what happened. We really weren't emotionally involved. But my parents, when they were back, November happened, and there was a media ban or a gag, I guess, on what happened. So they were really worried. We had family in Punjab and in Delhi. So that was a huge panic for them. They used to try to call every day, see if they got through, and if somebody heard, it's kind of like a network that they built of their own. Okay. Fortunately, no one where they lived weren't affected, but so many families and relatives, I guess, of our relatives that were affected. So it was a big deal.
So, I mean, did you have you said you had a lot of close relatives, anyone you remember now or that you knew at that time? Share an experience?
Yeah, there are a few. Some of them have passed away, unfortunately, and others had, my mom had cousins out there. Some of my mom's family moved to Delhi. So it was a few further relatives we had lost, cousins of my mom, second cousins, but no one directly. So
because you guys were mostly all here in Canada at that time?
Most of my family was in Canada.
Okay.
Do you remember hearing about any experiences or any stories from anyone?
I do. I have friends, employee staff who lived in Delhi, who experienced how their relatives were killed, burnt alive, how there were certain families that did look after them that weren't sick. Others, they went on a witch hunt, and they remember watching their media, cable, I guess in Delhi at that time, was available, and just kind of seeing where it's at, and it eventually creeped up to their doors. Devastated, obviously, lost a lot of family members. And even after this happened, it all changed for them. Their best friends were Hindu at the time, and then after that, it was hatred amongst friends. All of a sudden, there was distrust between best friends, and there was Hindus and the Sikhs, and there was a foul attitude created about Sikhs that they experienced, and some of these people are in their 40s now, early 40s, and they said, yeah, things changed, and it never was the same again. You know, that was something different. So it tore apart families and just friends. Communities were destroyed. They were either on this side or the other side. There's very few people that stood up and stood for justice and stood up for Sikhs in general. First-hand experience from some of our best friends.
Did what happened in 1984 really change your outlook on life?
I think it did. It inspired me to stand up for justice. It's a big wake-up call. So Janelle Singh spoke up for civil rights. I think that inspired thousands of Sikhs, even as young as my age or even younger, that aspired to stand up, to be that pillar in the community, that radiate throughout the world now. And it's something that you can't turn off, you can't fearmonger and destroy or hide from the world. I think it did something, it started something that can never be smothered out, if you will, and I think it's universal. There's a lot more education involved. A lot of young people aspire to be better human beings, first and foremost. Sikhi being the faith, I guess the foundation that we stand up stronger to radiate, I think, globally. That's united, and education is a big part of, I think, Canadians and other North Americans and people that are outside of India. I think that's been one of our key pillars of success, being people in our community, first and foremost.